welcome former teammate and Blue Jacket great Rick Nash is in the house on a hot June day. Not normal for you, Rick?
No, not normal.
But great, I bet.
It's great. It's nice being back around the guys, back in the arena, back with the organization. It's fun.
It's fun? Well, what do you see here? I mean, we didn't have development camp, right?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have it.
We were too old.
I was not a prospect. I was not a prospect.
That's right.
So when did you have it? After your first year?
Yeah.
So wait, after you got drafted?
It might have been a week later. We came in and we did these games and we did some skills and then we did the red, white, and boom parade.
Oh.
We were on the float, so it was.
You did the waving and tossing out the bubble gum and all that?
Yeah, we did. So it was good. So it brings back memories being here and watching these kids play.
It wasn't 5-on-5, or it wasn't 3-on-3?
Or no, it was 5-on-5.
Was it as much, like, for a guy like you, I mean, 3-on-3 would be a great way to show off your skills. Was it 5-on-5, hitting, grinding, fighting?
Yeah, well, I think you guys know better than anyone how training camps used to be.
Yeah, that was training camp, but this development camp.
It was a battle. It was a development camp, but it was still, big hits and there were some fights. It was just
brutal.
Different back then, right?
So would you say these guys have it easy compared to what you went through?
I wouldn't say easy. I would say it's different.
Different, yep.
But, it's just, it's a fine line. You're all in the same organization, and you're all trying to make the Blue Jackets better and make the team, but at the same time, you got to kind of stick out and make a name for yourself. So it's a fine line that you have to hover.
Well, and then I remember my agent. I mean, he would say, like, make sure you're noticed, even in practice. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to. I didn't make any friends the first camp. I just wanted to be mean, and because that was my job. But I guess, yeah, you want to make an impression, but you also want to be kind and not hurt anybody. But I think it was, probably different back then. For your development camp.
I agree with you. You have to be noticed, even though this is just a development camp. But these guys' goal is to play for the Blue Jackets, play in the NHL, and they got to make a name for themselves and do something special, just like you said.
All right, now so that's interesting because now it sounds like you say that from a position of now you are here to watch and see some people stand out specifically, right? Is that what you want to see?
For sure. I mean, we're looking at more of a skill.
Yeah.
Skill, hands. Their moves in tight. It's tough to get system stuff from 3-on-3.
Oh yeah.
And kind of hockey sense, but it's you can really tell a guy's skill, and I think if you watch, you'll tell some guys have some higher skill than others. I think.
Well, Foodie obviously was a guy that jumped out in game number 1. We talked about his deceptive speed. I mean, it looked like the players didn't really expect him to blow by him.
Right on that first goal, yeah. The guy just kind of. A nice outside-in move, and he was right by him. But he's definitely someone that stuck out. Even though this is just development camp and you want the kids learning, but he's definitely stuck out.
So Nasher, congratulations on the new position.
Thank you.
Until you are the president of the team, we're still gonna go with Nasher for you because I still remember you as an 18-year-old when you came in.
I like that.
But I want to ask you. So now that you're on the other side of the business, what's the biggest ha-ha moment for you? What is the biggest thing that as a player, whoa, I can't believe this is happening, or I can't believe this is how they look at things so far?
Yeah, well, definitely watching games with them and some of the things they say about us players, that was an eye-opener.
Okay.
So it's, and you know what the biggest thing, and I think I've talked to Jody before, was how far in advance everything's planned. You look at the depth charts and they're 3 to 4 years looking at the team to see where, what guys are under contract, what guys they think at this development camp can make the team in a few years or even next year. As a player, you just worry about what's going on the ice and now and today. And when you're kind of looking at building a team, it's so much further in advance, and that's been kind of the most interesting thing that I've noticed.
Right, and that's something really interesting because now with the salary cap era, you're looking at all these teams trying to make moves to make some room for free agent, etc. And you look at the teams that are successful right now are the team that obviously have a lot of young guys that can contribute because they're on their first deal and not running on the $5, $6, $7 million a year. And obviously that's a key thing with this organization as well, to have some young guys like the Dubois, the Werenski, that are still on the. Who do you see, out of everybody on the ice here that you would say, hey, this is probably I'm looking at the potential in the next 2-3 years, somebody who could be a big contributor with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right with the cap, because you're seeing some teams in the trouble now where they can't afford their young guys because they have other young guys signed up for long term. So it's going to be interesting. I think the one guy with Alexander Texier that everyone kind of knows already from the playoffs last year, I watched him a bit when he came to Cleveland at first, and he truly stood out down there, and when he came up, he looked totally comfortable. The other guy that sits out for me is Bemstrom. Watching him this week and his skills and his stick work and his speed, and then meeting him, he's a bigger guy than you think. He's kind of like a fire hydrant. He's thick. So I think those two guys will have a big part of the Jackets in the future.
Awesome. And then Jody, sorry, one more question because I'm really loving this discussion right now. So Jody played in Europe during the lockout. I spent way too many years in Europe myself. Do you think for the development of those young players, we're looking at Texier who played in Finland and Bäckström who played in Sweden, the fact that they were playing against men up in these leagues instead of playing college with guys kind of like somewhat their peers or junior hockey, do you think that helps their development, although the ice size and the physicality is quite different?
I think so. I think each individual is different at the same time too, but the ice size, it's a bit of an adjustment for these guys to get used to the smaller ice. As we all know, we've played on both. But you look at a guy like Tim Burney, too, who's been playing in the Swiss League, which is a great league, and he comes over here, and does he have an advantage over guys that have been in the NCAA or in the OHL? It's tough. I guess everyone's different, but I think there's something to be said for these guys playing in Europe against, full-grown men, playing in a professional league. I think there's something to be said for that. I think that's a great point by you.
See, I don't know about that, and I go back to you. You came in, and this was a different league. I mean, you were a tall kid, but you were skinny, right? And you had to adjust looking back. I mean, were you ready coming out of London, do you think, to...
I think the situation fit me perfect to jump in. I mean, maybe with most other teams and with my size and things, I might not have jumped in as early.
Yep.
But it's just... and that's why I said at first, it's kind of every case is individual, and
it's got to be.
Everyone has their own kind of path, and obviously the three of us all have different paths and how we got here. There's no right way or wrong way, but it's really tough to say.
I look at Dubois, okay, because he wasn't ready his first year, but he was ready his second year. It was like he grew up a little bit, and you're going to see this when you watch. We were just talking about this off the top. You're going to see kids that got drafted this year. You're going to see kids that got drafted 2 years ago and 3 years ago. There's a difference in maturity. There's a difference in how they carry themselves. There's just a lot. We're going to see a penalty shot here. Just a lot of that. There's a lot that goes into it. That now that we're out of it, when you're in it, you don't think that way. We all want to play in the National Hockey League, but you look at a guy like Foudy. He's got the skill. What's he going to bring to training camp? And those are all. They're fascinating conversations to have, and this is an exciting. This is an exciting week for the organization, right? Nice save there off the blocker.
It's interesting. The margins are so small to be coming in, a good player development camp, a good player in the AHL to an NHL player. You just think of other sports where, there's such a difference and it's such a small percentage. And luckily enough, the three of us are in that small percentage and played NHL hockey games. But
different paths, though, right?
For sure.
Yeah, slightly.
So this is the way I look at it is Jody and I were invited to the suspect camp, and you were there at the prospect camp. Right? A little different path, but we all found our way there, right? But
that's right.
We still, all three of us have to work just as hard to get where we got.
For sure.
Nothing is given to you.
For sure. Totally agree with that.
Lots of talk about hockey sense. Are you having an easy time picking that out?
You know what? It's tough.
You got to look for it, right?
It's fun to sit with Jarmo and pick his brain, watching these camps and watching games, because it's not an easy thing to do that these scouts do, to pick out talent, to pick out, like you said, hockey sense.
Yeah.
But you feel that you've played in the NHL and you kind of have a feel for it, but there's a whole nother sixth sense that these scouts have, and it's been impressive to watch it and kind of learn from them.
I guess it just comes with reps, like anything, of watching. And if you're watching a specific player, I guess you get to see him over and over in different situations and how he handles, adversity with the puck or keeping plays alive. I look at that a lot. I know one asset when you're on the ice with someone is keeping a play alive. And when you were playing in the NHL, you probably appreciated that more than anyone because you wanted to play in the offensive zone, right? If you give the puck to someone and then you're going to back check, that's something I think Dubois, I go back to Dubois, but I think he does that well. I think that's something that is being focused on more when you see with teams and how teams have success.
Yeah, there's no question there. You can keep a play alive on the boards, or you can create a play by nothing. It's gonna make you stand out, and it's gonna be a huge difference to the game. And I think Dubois is a great example of that. You can remember a few goals in the playoffs and at the end of the season where he literally kept the play alive at one of the most important parts of the ice is the two blue lines, and it's what you look for. But
we got a shootout here. Texier, it's a 0-0 tie, so not like the first game. Oh, a little too fancy there maybe by Texier. He tried to fool the goaltender and take the hand off the stick.
And again, here we have Rick Nash in the booth sitting with us for those listening at home. But Rick, one more question here. Obviously, the skill level, you're looking at the skill level of the average fourth liner now is probably just as good as a good first or second liner back when we played. And that makes talent evaluation that much harder now because everybody can skate, everybody can stick handle. And we talked about like reading the play. What's the other thing that you guys look, in the scouting, beside character and the obvious things?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it's so true. It seems like everyone has their skating coach now. Everyone has their stick handling coach. It's, everyone can kind of play. And, I said earlier, there's kind of that sixth sense that you're trying to look for these players that just kind of separate, a first round pick that doesn't quite make it to a Texier, someone that has a bright future, hopefully. I think it's just feeling the game and feeling the hockey sense that we talk about so much and seeing someone that's hungry. I mean, you have to have that competitive spirit and just that full package that's going to make you an impact player. And it's tough to find. It's not easy. Scouting is not easy. It's fun to learn off these guys.
Because you can go on a trip and see a guy have the game of his life, and then you watch him for 3 weeks after and he does nothing, yet you have somebody on his line, on his team that's very consistent. And it's like, okay, which one do I pick? The guy that's going to give me like one good game every 20 or the consistent guy? And these are things that as fans people don't really see that because they're just looking at the points, right?
Right, it's tough, and I'm learning that too. I'm asking them, would you guys rather scout playoff games than the start of the season? Like, do you see players come out of their shell in the playoffs, or it was one part. Me and Yarmo were watching a game at the World Championships, and the game was over, and we were both just sitting there, and he's like, "I'm going to teach you one thing." He's like, "Don't try too hard to look for it." He's like, that was not a great game, and there was no one that was good. So he's like, stop looking and just watch it.
That's fantastic.
There was no one in there, so it was kind of funny.
Great. Some guys take that approach too much. So how is life, Nasher? I know you. It's been a year now since really, where you had to go through the transition of being done with the regular season, and you were wondering probably what was going to happen. How's things going?
Everything's good. I'm really grateful for the Jackets kind of welcoming me back, and the fans too. This is truly home. It's tough at first. What you guys both know. I think the toughest thing is missing the guys, missing the camaraderie with the boys. You have the family of 22 or 25 guys, whatever it is, going to the rink and having that. But I don't miss the stress. I don't miss the pressure. I don't miss the back-to-backs, those type things. It's I miss the competitiveness, especially watching playoff hockey. But you know what? I'm happy to be back in it. I kind of fill a lot of those voids with being around you guys and seeing you guys on the day-to-day basis once the season starts. So, things are good, and I'm happy to be in Columbus, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that I got with the Jackets.
It's a dream job, isn't it? I mean, at the back of the bus, it's the one job I think every player would love to have. It's a unique position.
You're talking general manager, or?
Oh, where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just a learning. Like, I'm trying to be a sponge off Yarmo, and I think we're lucky to have Yarmo in Columbus. I'm sure both you guys have
I feel the same way, absolutely.
He is an incredible hockey person.
Hard.
He works hard, and yeah, for me, I'm lucky, and I'm lucky to kind of jump in at the position that I get to jump in on. But for me, there's a lot to learn, and I'm just going to try to be a sponge with Yarmo and Basil and Billy and Josh. All these guys are genius hockey people from upstairs, and I'm going to try to learn.
Well, you're smart, because some guys think that they can wait 4 or 5 years, but it's amazing how quick the turnover happens, and how once you get away from it, sometimes it's harder to get back in. There's only so many positions there, so it's great to have you back with the organization. You've been a big part of this organization, this city, and to have you back and around, I know it means a lot to the organization. I know it means a lot to the fans, and it was weird to hear them boo you when you were coming back, and I know it probably broke your heart a little bit, but that's all in the past.
Yeah, it did. It was weird. It was always awkward coming back here, as I always said, with a different team. But you appreciate the kind of fans they are. They love their jackets, they love their team, and when you're on the opposing team, you're going to get booed. But hopefully we came full circle, and
sounds like
they
it.
don't hear those anymore.
So, Rick,
They don't boo you in Kroger.
So, all three of us, obviously not from Columbus. I'm going to ask you an honest question. Nobody's going to boo you for this one. The first time you stepped foot in Columbus, Ohio, did you ever think you would have a family and retire in this city?
No.
Right?
To be honest with you, before I was drafted here, I honestly didn't even know where I was going, or what Columbus was like, what it had to offer. For us growing up in Canada, you don't hear anything about NCAA football. Everyone's like, the Buckeyes are huge. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know what it is.
Buckeyes is in Canada. Sorry, Buckeye
right.
fans.
So, no, and
we didn't. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we didn't. Now we're probably all season ticket holders, but at least I am. But no, I would have never guessed it. But now, even living in New York for 5 years, living in Boston a bit, living back home, I really can't picture myself anywhere else other than Columbus.
Right.
It's that special of a place to me.
And so one of your roles right now is going to probably try to lure some free agent to come to Columbus and sell in the city. To me, we couldn't find a better person than someone that actually lives now full-time here. And I think nothing's more powerful than looking at your career, right, what you've been through, and coming there and really being honest with these guys, because you'll be able to tell them, listen, when I was 19 years old or 18 years old, I came here. I personally remember driving down 71, calling my agent saying, that was before GPS, man.
Right.
I'm that old. And I was like, so I keep going through those fields, and then all of a sudden the Columbus is going to appear. I would have never imagined myself having a family and living in Columbus as well. So is that something that you're really going to use with these guys? Because until you experience, and I've seen some of your quotes in the newspapers, until you really experience it, it's really hard to understand it, yet your period to convince these guys is so short. How's that going? How are you going to deal with that challenge?
It is a challenge. You're exactly right. It's tough, and for us, we know the city, we know how good it is, we know all the pros that it has, but to try to explain that to a free agent, someone that just comes in, hits the airport, hits the hotel, hits the rink, it's a bit tough, but I've been it's easier, I think, to sell to guys with families.
Yeah.
And at the same point, I mean, with the short north and it's booming down there, you have campus. I mean, for younger guys, it's a fun city to be at. And it's with German Village, and you have such a young city feel too, that I truly feel if we get people here even to see it and just to take a tour, that they'll really fall in love with it. But at the same point, the city isn't for everyone. Some people want the lights and the big city feel. But for me, leaving this city and going somewhere else, you don't know how good you have it here until you're gone. And there's other cities when your team's not winning and you haven't scored in 10 games. It's a little different pressure than here. Here you can just worry about hockey, and that's great.
That's a good point. When I got to San Jose, I was the biggest fan of the Blue Jackets, and I watched them from afar, and I was like, why are they doing that? Why are what? I was trying to figure out what was happening here, because things needed to change for the better, and you really, you do when you get back here in the off season. I know you spent your off seasons here too. You'd wonder about the Blue Jackets. what's going on there? So it's almost an advantage to go away and then come back and try to help out. Because sometimes when you're stuck in one thing and people think it's the right way, sometimes it's not. So it's good to see how other teams do it. And I think that's an advantage maybe that you definitely have coming back here.
I think so, yeah. And we've all played for a few different teams, and we know how it works. So it's anything that we can do to help get to the ultimate goal will be successful.
Well, thanks for your time, Rick. We really appreciate it.